My soul, wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him. Psalm 62, verse 5. David turns back from his enemies to his own soul. He has exposed the enemy's character. Now he addresses himself. This is the same movement he made in verse 1, but the language has sharpened. In verse 1, David declared that his soul waited on God. Here he says, "Wait thou only upon God." The words show David pressing his own soul into position, the way a soldier presses into formation. His soul does not rest, but drifts toward fear and toward the faces of his enemies. The word "only" carries the full weight of this verse. Not God and a plan, nor God and an ally, just God. David has already named God as his rock, salvation, and defense. Every other source of expectation falls away. My expectation is from him. The word for expectation carries the idea of a cord stretched taut, a hope that holds under pressure. David's expectation is not a vague wish. It connects to God's character, strained by his circumstances. The expectation does not come from David's assessment of the situation. His hope comes from God. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. Psalm 62, verse 6. This verse mirrors verse 2 almost word for word, but with one significant difference. In verse 2, David said, "I shall not be greatly moved." Here he drops the word greatly. He shall not be moved at all. The change is not accidental. David has moved from acknowledging he might be shaken to declaring he will not be moved. The act of waiting on God in verse 5 produces this firmer ground in verse 6. Silence before God is not passive. It works something in the soul that argument and activity cannot produce. He only is my rock and my salvation. David repeats the declaration. Repetition in biblical poetry is not redundancy, but reinforcement. The rock does not change between verse 2 and verse 6. David's grip on it does. He holds it with both hands now. He is my defense. The same elevated fortress from verse 2 stands unchanged. David's enemies have not moved. The schemes are still running, but the defense is still God, and that is enough. I shall not be moved. His enemies wanted to move him from his throne, from his position before God, but they will fail. Not because David is immovable by nature, but because God is. In God is my salvation and my glory. The rock of my strength and my refuge is in God. Psalm 62, verse 7. David now adds two words he has not used before in this psalm. Salvation and glory both rest in God. Salvation is the deliverance David needs from his present enemies. Glory is his standing, his honor, his worth before God and men. David is saying that both his rescue and his reputation belong to God. The rock of my strength. God is the rock from which David's strength flows. The strength is not David's own supply that God occasionally refills. The strength originates in God and moves outward to David. And my refuge is in God. A refuge is a place you run to when everything outside is hostile. David names God as that place.